Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're back at the YMCA for my second day of training down here on vacation in Savannah, Georgia. The weather is a little bit cooler because yesterday I was certainly dying in there squatting and deadlifting. We're sitting at about 88 degrees, so I'm hoping it won't be as bad. I do have a couple of concerns, and that's the main reason I wanted to make this video for you all, was to share with you how I approach training and traveling and some of the obstacles you can have while you're away. The main thing, because I have moderately heavy bench today, sets of 5, and the benches in there looked okay, right? And usually that's the biggest thing I run into. The two things I look for are, can I fit enough plates on the bar for squat and deadlift? And how are the benches for bench press? And it looks like these are kind of set at a set height, so you can't raise or lower the rack height. And that might make it a little difficult for, actually getting set up and heavier weight. Luckily, my bench sets today are RPE based. So, hopefully we can just adjust if the benches are suboptimal, but looking from yesterday in there, I think it should be fine. I also do need to do some incline press, which I didn't spend a whole lot of time looking for an incline bench in there, but hopefully we find something that's suitable and that'll be totally fine. So let's go ahead and get in there. I'll show you some footage, and then at the end I'll do a recap and we'll talk about, how things went. All right, so here we are. It took me a few minutes to wait on a bench. I did a little bit of elliptical work. It was busy in there today, which, it's vacation time, and down here in Savannah, it's pretty busy. So I totally expected that, and that was no problem. Made me do a little bit more warming up than I normally would, which, who knows, maybe that ended up being why I felt so good today. As you can see, the bench sits a little higher than the bench I'm used to, but I actually think that it is the height of a competition bench, which, if everything plays out how it did today, that'll really benefit me. And that was part of the reason that I switched to the flats, because I feel like on the higher bench, the flat shoes really allow me to dig my heels into the ground. And I think that partly contributed to, how good today really felt. And I came in skeptical because, as you can tell, the height of the bench is fixed, and I thought it might be a little bit low, so it's like I'm shoulder pressing it out of the rack before I even start the set. But ultimately, I think the height of the bench and the width made up for that, and it ended up being an awesome session. And I went up over the weights that I was expecting to hit today. And that's kind of the great thing about auto regulation. These sets were supposed to be in RPE 7, and going in today, I knew with it being a strange gym, there was going to be a chance that I had to regulate those down. So I had this bias towards regulating down, but my last warm-up, I hit 365 for a set of 5, and that's kind of where I knew regulating down on the weight wasn't going to be an option, and it ended up being quite the opposite, right? I had to push it a little heavier. This was a 30-pound increase with the 400 pounds for a set of 5 versus 370 that I hit last week. And that's why it's just so important to go into a new gym scenario with such an open mind. And I think my diet's really starting to pay off because the weight's starting to roll off, but I'm feeling stronger than ever, and I'm definitely looking a little leaner. So I'm excited, with how that's going. Today was mostly just upper body and accessories. Gym atmosphere was pretty good. It wasn't nearly as hot as yesterday, which ended up being a good thing. So overall, I'm happy, and I'll go ahead and flash forward here to some commentary from me in the car, and I'll close things up. All right, so we just finished up here in the gym. Today went fantastic, to be put output short, right? Essentially bench was the primary movement, some pause bench, and I went in with some apprehension as far as the quality of the benches and kind of getting set up properly. And the rack height tends to be an issue. So looking at those yesterday, I was a little bit curious on how that would go. But this kind of serves as a lesson for hopefully you all as well. Don't automatically go into a new gym environment thinking that it's going to be a negative for sure, right? Go in with an open mind, and sometimes you just have kind of rock star days in there where the weights are moving. And my prescribed weight for the day was a 5x5 at an RPE 7. Last week I hit 370 pounds, conservatively for sure, for that same rep scheme. So going in this week, my goal was to hit 385 for that 5x5. And honestly, just the first set with 385 was way too easy. So I just slowly inched it up. I was like, okay, 390. And then that was too easy. I did 2 sets there and then a set at 395. And ultimately I did a set at 400 pounds at the RPE 7. It was definitely an at 7. And there's a few variables there because I'm really hesitant to have a week where I go up 30 pounds like that. But sometimes when the weights are moving like that, you just have to go for it. And that's exactly what I did. Now, because this session went so well and it was at a new place, I have to take that with a grain of salt. And going into next week, I will certainly kind of keep a skeptical goal or a more moderate goal as far as what I want to hit for that 5x5 once I'm back home at Iron Forged. I understand it might not be that same 400 pounds because these benches were a little bit wider, which sometimes benefit larger lifters like myself, a little bit more shoulder support. It also sat up higher at like a competition height. The only thing that was a little more tricky was the actual rack height itself, which ended up not being an issue. So all in all, these were maybe more ideal benches, more like a competition bench. So whenever I get back home next week, I have to moderate my expectations a little bit because, you know, it might not go as perfectly. With that said, we had a great training session, kind of backed off with the incline press. Those went smoothly as well, even though it was kind of a weird apparatus. The atmosphere in the gym was good. It was busy. I had to wait a little bit for the bench, but overall not too bad. And, you know, everyone in there was working hard. I saw another person, I was almost positive he was a powerlifter as well. I noticed he had an MSDE belt and he was, you know, squatting with the metal plates to proper depth and all that good stuff. So I'm not really someone to swing by and chit chat in the gym, so I didn't talk to him, but it was cool to see someone else in there with a similar goal. So that kind of does it. That was a great training session. That wraps it up for me this week. I'm going to be here for one more day, which will, you know, be a nice relaxing day, and then we're going to drive back before my end of the week training. So my next training session will be back in Pennsylvania, which will be good. So I'll finally get to relax a little bit here. It is stressful to go to a new gym and have to get everything done. So glad to have it done. Thank you all for swinging by and kind of going on this adventure with me. Let me know what are your all's experiences traveling to other gyms? Do you have a go-to? Like mine is the Y. If I can, I always go to a YMCA because I feel like they tend to have decent enough equipment and they're pretty cheap. Also, shout out to the lady at the front door. She let me use her guest pass, so it was only $5 to get in today. She saved me $5. I really appreciated that. Anyway, thank you all. Please like and subscribe, and happy lifting. See you next time.